as the site lead, I also focused on observing and thinking about change. For me, I really tried to apply what I learned in my Leadership Part 1 course this summer. I spent a lot of time at first observing in the classrooms and in the hallways, watching the instructors as well as the students, and thinking a little bit about what I could do to support growth for both the adults in the building as well as the children. And I really tried to use questioning skills to get people to look differently at their program and reach outside of their comfort zone for their own changes. I also tried, though, to give permission for making changes, trying new things, and knowing that it was okay to make an attempt, see what happened, and then respond to that. And I really began to notice a lot of changes. I saw kids that were reluctant to come in at first, that were much happier coming into the program. I saw educators that were really focusing on meeting children's various needs, including ensuring that they were calm enough in order to be able to learn. And so I saw educators really focusing on self-reg and particularly building strong relationships with campers as well as with families, and doing what they could to support the individual campers so that they could really embrace the academic learning as well as their own social and emotional learning. And I have certainly seen growth right across the camp, and I am just so proud of the amazing group of educators, families, and students that we had this past summer, and just how excited they are to go back to school and apply what they've learned this summer. And this video is a way of hearing some of their stories and some of their moments of growth. So what do you think is your biggest area of growth this year?
I think for me, this is my 4th year at Camp Power, and every year I've learned something new, especially around the areas of kind of student-centered, inquiry-based, play-based learning for the students. And then for myself, documentation and assessment, and just using reading strategies and instructional strategies in an appropriate way, in authentic kind of learning situations. And I always take that back to my school when I go back in September, and I can use those strategies there with my students, which is always great and why I'm always coming back for more strategies the next year. I've also been able to adjust my teaching so that before I was using a lot of technology in the classroom, and I noticed this year, just based on my students and what they were interested in, what they needed, we've used very little technology this year. We've done a lot more other experimental, scientific kind of exploration and building type of things, which is what they were super interested in. At the beginning of the year, of the session, they were asking a lot about, they wanted to take the robots out, they wanted to take iPads out, and now they don't ask at all because they have all this other stuff that they're doing, which I think is great.
So what do you think the impact of then this learning might be on kids and around their learning?
I think the biggest thing that I've seen over the 4 years, kind of a common theme, is just students becoming more engaged in and more interested in learning itself and more confident in that learning. I try to focus on kind of a growth mindset, and kids when they first come in and say, "Can you write this for me?" They're, "Oh, I can't write that." And then by the end, you just ask them, "Can you write that?" And they're sounding it out, they're trying it out, and they're okay with trying, as opposed to before they didn't have that confidence. So I think that's the biggest thing. In 3 weeks, there's not a whole lot that is going to change with their actual reading level, but that mindset and the ability to try new things and to think, "Oh yes, I can do it," and have that confidence is a huge boost, as well as just enjoying, I think, school and learning more. They can see how much fun it can be and how interesting it can be to learn new things and to get new skills, and realize that to get that they need that reading to get through and to progress to the next level, which you see with the students here.
So what was one of your goals for Camp Power this summer?
This is my first year at Camp Power, so one of my goals here was to help connect with kids and help kids connect to one another as peers. I did that through various self-regulation strategies. And I noticed that on the first day, there were lots of fires that were happening around the room. They weren't really calm, they weren't connecting with one another, and they were more interested in themselves and what they wanted to do. And by the end of the Camp Power experience, they were connecting with one another, they were building things together, and all of those little fires that I was putting out at the beginning of Camp Power were gone.
So what impact do you think that this might have on their learning?
I think they were more willing to take risks with their learning. So if I gave them an activity, whereas before, if they didn't really know what that activity entailed or what they were expecting to get out of it, they would not try it. They would go to something more comfortable, whereas now the kids are more willing to try.
All right, so this year at Camp Power, this was an awesome summer. I got to work super closely with lots of different colleagues, people who some of them I haven't met before, some of them I've seen on Twitter, some of them I've worked just a little bit with. And it was a really great opportunity for me to get to work with new people and learn some different perspectives about how I want to program in my classroom. So I was really dead set on how I love to run my program, and I think going into this school year, I'm going to be trying out lots of different strategies. I'm going to be trying out some different programming. I'm really excited to add a little bit more play-based into my classroom, because I think that provides a lot of opportunity for authentic writing. This was something that I used as a goal. I really wanted to find opportunities to get my students to write with a purpose, that I wasn't telling them a topic, I wasn't pushing them to write something. So my personal goal this summer was I wanted them to have those opportunities present themselves. So this was something I was really excited. We found labeling, we found drawing family trees, we were writing letters, and this was something my students love to do, and I can really see this coming back into my classroom. Something else I was working on is trying to boost confidence in my students, and I saw that when we worked with our peers and we weren't doing a task for a specific reason. We were doing it because we wanted to do it, it was fun, the kids were engaged in it, and I wasn't really forcing them into something. I saw that true passion for learning or math or literacy, writing, all these things, they came out naturally and I wasn't pushing them into it. So I found that I got a lot more out of my students by doing natural and authentic experience.
Write a letter to them. So Dallas sat down, he started writing a big letter, and then we took a picture. And I said, well, what should we do with it now? So I put it onto my Twitter, and we shared it with the Hamilton Police, and I said, can you do anything about this? Have you seen this bike? And Dallas wrote about it, he drew pictures, and then I got a message last night. Who do you think my message was from? Hamilton Police! Yeah, they sent me a message, and they said, can we come to your camp tomorrow? What did I say? Yeah, look who's here. And they have brought something, and they wanted to talk to us and maybe give a little something to Dallas and his mom, because they felt so sad. How do you think Dallas is feeling now? Sad. Yeah, look. He's smiling. He is so happy now. Let's hear, maybe they have...
So what has been your biggest area of growth?
I would have to say my biggest area of growth this year is flexibility within the Camp Power program. Flexibility as far as working in different classrooms with different children and different needs who I don't necessarily know. Flexibility with the power on the second floor and it going out and us having to find alternative workspace for kids in our classrooms.
Okay. And what impact do you think that this might have on students and student learning?
I'm going to have more patience because I know that I have to be flexible and I have to go with the flow. And so that's going to help me have more realistic expectations for kids who are struggling, because I know I struggled through Camp Power this week with the lack of power, as I said. And so I'm going to have a little bit more compassion and empathy for kids who are struggling that way.
My experience here at Camp Power was amazing. I will do it again if I have the opportunity to do it again. I did learn through the PD learning sessions pertaining to language. The use of visual is very, very vital in learning because people learn in different styles. They have different styles of learning. So that would be an asset when I go back out to school. I also got some hints as to making more resources for my students, which was great. Some new ideas. And Aviva is amazing at what she does. She's very committed, hardworking, and she checks in every day to make sure that everybody's okay. And if we needed help, we can always have that go-to person to ask for help if we need help. She's very calm and figuring out stuff.
I found that since Kinsey started at Camp Power, she has changed so much. She's wanting to play with her age-appropriate peers and study younger kids. And most exciting is she's wanting to read and write letters and just be part of literacy and be involved in it. And it just is so amazing as a parent to see that growth and development in such a short period of time. So thank you, Camp Power. As a parent of a nonverbal autistic child, I was so excited to get a phone call on the Thursday before camp starting saying he has one-to-one support and is more than welcome at Camp Power. Inclusion is so important for our kids and it doesn't happen enough. So to have him in such a loving, inclusive spot with lots of friends to play with and just having a blast, thank you. That is so incredibly important for our autistic children and any children with special needs. So let's make sure it keeps happening.
So my little guy, this is his second year up at Camp Power. I actually looked back at my Twitter from last year, and I was having a look, and it said that second day of Camp Power, he was like, "Can I come back again next year, Mom?" He loved it so much. He started off as a really, really, really shy little learner, really shy guy, really afraid to voice his opinions, voice his knowledge, even if he knew the answer, and certainly wouldn't if he didn't. And now I see him, and he's more confident. And he's willing to just engage and try, and that really did come from Camp Power, just being willing to work in the smaller groups, work with the educators that were here, and just even the different kinds of ways that we learn here at Camp Power. He's just loved it, and he's really, really grown. And even through the different ways that we learn literacy and stuff, he's applied it throughout his last school year. And he'd even tell his teacher, "Well, I learned this at Camp Power." And it's so important, this program. We noticed too, even just walking in the community, those orange shirts, everybody's like, "Hey, you're going to Camp Power, I'm so jealous, I want to go too." Everybody, it's just, this program has just meant so much to everyone in the community. And it's really, really quite important. And I can't imagine our community not having Camp Power. It's been huge, and we're just so incredibly grateful to all the educators that come and spend their summer working here and taking their time to work with these guys, because it's just incredibly important to get those literacy skills up and those math skills up and get them socializing and getting them ready for school, and even just getting those rhythms and patterns going again. It's just been amazing.
So what's something special that you've learned at Camp Power this summer?
I pretty much learned how to write.
Oh, what did you learn about writing?
So you have to spell words to write.
You do? How do you spell the words that you didn't know before?
Sometimes when I never knew how to spell play, because whenever I spell play, I always do C-D-E, but never a Y. But now I know that Y's make the E sound.
Oh, you know that Y's now make the E sound? Who taught you that?
Miss Mullen, because there's this teacher that helps me read, and I love reading.
How do you know you're getting better at reading?
Because now I'm learning how more words, and I can think of more words.